Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this On the Ball record. What number are we on, Steve?
84.
Good. Glad you're counting. We are good to go tonight with our live recording of the podcast. Steve is here right from the start because Steve is going to host this evening, which is very exciting. Obviously, yeah. How excited are you, Steve? On a scale of
well, I mean, this is already exciting. Being able to share the stage with you on this bit. You know, at what point does it become MB/SS? That's MBSS.
All right. Bloody hell, it's only been two. Happy to share always. Yeah. So other than Steve hosting, it's going to be pretty much the same format. Zoe is here as well. I don't know if I can bring Zoe in. There she is. She's there and she's waving. There you go. Take it away. Look, you don't want to see too much of it just yet. Let's save it for the pod.
Sneak peek.
That was sneaky peeks. So Zoe's with us, which is very exciting. Hodgie may be with us. We don't know. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be part of the plan.
I mean, that is exciting. We don't know where he is. We don't know where he's going. We think he might be on a train heading somewhere. And we don't know when he's going to turn up. So stay tuned just for that.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the reception won't work when he gets here as well, which I can definitely see happening. Well, I've got all the usual topics to talk about. I don't know what we'll lead off with, but we'll find out soon enough. It's very buzzy. Don't know if that's just me, but. That's weird. So, yeah, plenty to talk about, obviously. 7 goals for starters, so that's going to keep us a while. Given last week we spent, 40 minutes talking about one miss from 22 yards. So what we're going to do with 7 goals, who knows? So that's exciting. Get your comments and questions in. Obviously, it is difficult for us to keep track normally when we're doing the pod record. I'll have a go at doing that today if I can, and we'll try and bring up some things and discuss them. This isn't essentially an interactive pod, so don't get disappointed if we don't get involved in the comments. Essentially, this is just us recording the podcast live, so you get to see it. If we can get comments and get through the comments, we will. But obviously, throw them at us. We'll read them at some point. The public will read them, so it's all good. It's all good. Just don't get disappointed if we don't use them, because I think someone got a bit disappointed last week that we didn't. All the comments. It's like, well,
they'll be called out.
Yeah, all good. It's all over it. It's okay. Thank you for getting engaged. Hope you enjoyed watching the pod. But throw them in. I think that's it. We might have some star signs later in, obviously a bit of Whit's end action, which I love teeing up. But other than that, Steve, I think if you're ready to go.
I think I'm ready as I'll ever be. Well, it's nearly 10 past now, isn't it? So I suppose I better be ready, really.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, put the willies at me there because I was like, have we gone live? I lose track of what we're doing very easily. Now, so I need to remove myself from this. I'm going to leave it with you, and I'm going to get the. I tell you what, let's just play it. Are you ready? Should we get going? Get going.
Ready when you are, Michael.
Let's get going.
Guts and determination, free-flowing football, a coherent tactical plan, and a contented fan base. If these are the things that you look for in a football podcast discussion...
Sorry, hang on. Steve,
is that not working?
The audio didn't work. This is like the first technical issue we've had. But it didn't work.
And then you can't hear me at all?
I couldn't unmute you. I could only unmute me. That was awkward. Ooh. So it's fine. It's fine. Let's just try it again. This is why we do it live.
The excitement of live broadcast.
Exactly. Right? We did it last time though, so I'm a bit confused why it's an issue this time. But that's okay. That maybe if we're all added to the stream, we don't like that view. What horrible view that is. Who would ever use that? There we go. That's better. Okay. Should we just try again? So Steve, I'm going to mute myself.
Okay.
Oh,
maybe you should just stay unmuted. That's fine.
It did say I couldn't unmute guests. This is exciting for everyone, isn't it? Well, it's not that we're just putting it off because we don't want to talk about football. So, yeah. let's give it a go. I'll mute myself and oh, sorry, I keep doing that. I'll mute myself. We'll have another go and see how it goes. Yeah?
I'm happy to go.
The same thing might happen again. I tell you what.
I'm just going to say exactly what I just said, but even better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've had a great practice right there, haven't you, Steve? Okay, let's go. I'm going on mute and let's take it away again. Take 2. We might need 7 takes of this, right? Hang on, I got it. Hang on. Stop. Cut the sound. Right. Steve, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I can do that.
You need to unmute yourself. If you unmute yourself, we are absolutely good to go.
Okay. Just for the tape, I did not mute myself. It happens.
No, I'm muting you.
It's not me being completely incompetent.
No. It mutes us all automatically when we play a video.
Okay.
So this pod so far has been the equivalent of Norwich's performance at. This is like an artistic representation of Norwich at Stamford Bridge. We're already 4-0 down. Right. So if you can unmute yourself, seamless is the word. Yeah. Let's go again.
Hello and welcome to On the Ball, Norwich City Podcast that would hate to be as embarrassed as a Manchester United fan right now. You're listening to edition number 84. I'm Steve Sanders, aka NCFCnumbers on Twitter. Michael's handed me the wheel again while he puts his feet up in the passenger seat, which might be a little bit unfair actually. I'm sure he'll be doing at least some of the heavy lifting. But the main thing is I'm presenting this week. So, guts and determination, free-flowing football, a coherent tactical plan, and a contented fan base. If these are the things that you look for in a football podcast discussion, you may wish to turn off now. I've just given it the big sell there. So Norwich City were sloth-like on Saturday, feeling Chelsea's wrath in the lunchtime kickoff, and are currently the envy of no one as they remain rooted to the bottom of the Greed League. How can they salvage some pride from this season, and will they soon be lusting after a new manager? Well, we're gluttons for punishment on the On the Ball podcast, and the Canaries committed 7 deadly sins of their own on Saturday. And I'll be going over those in detail with, if not a magnificent 7, then I'm going to downgrade it to a magnificent 2.5, I think. All will be revealed on that score. So, panel this evening, we've got a great panel. First up, journalist, broadcaster, Norwich City correspondent for The Athletic, and chief protagonist of the Michael Bailey YouTube channel that you might be watching right now. Can you guess who it is yet? It's Michael Bailey. How are you, Michael? You all right?
What a lovely intro. Thank you, Steve. I like this. I like it when I get to just sit back and watch someone else host. It's lovely fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun for me. It's a bit more nerve-wracking, especially when we have technical difficulties, which obviously people listening won't know anything about. It was completely seamless, wasn't it?
Seamless.
Yeah. And just to confirm, I know we have done this before, but if people didn't hear the first time I hosted, this is not some kind of coup, and I'm making you do this against your will. We can definitely confirm that, can't we?
I suggested it, I think.
Okay.
So and I'm not trying to claim credit for that, because that, I think it's great that we get to. Well, I mean, the idea was it would give me a chance to have a little bit of a chat as well, but I'm kind of maybe regretting that, to be honest. This was not a good weekend to pick, but hey, it's not like I haven't talked about it already, so let's do it again.
I think it's going to be cathartic tonight. And welcome for an On the Ball debut appearance. Woo! It's Norwich City fan and contributor to Along Come Norwich and the Matchday programme, Zoe Morgan. Welcome to On the Ball, Zoe.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm not so bad, if we take football out of the equation. Really thrilled to be making my debut after such a performance to talk about. So, yes, looking forward to it.
I hate to tell you, but football is going to be very much part of the equation on this the next 45 minutes or so. So a quick bit on you, Zoe. Where's your favourite place to sit in the ground? Do you have a season ticket, or do you have a favourite spot?
I do. I've been a season ticket holder for 28 years, which I know is impossible to believe with the baby face. But yeah, 28 years. I started watching in our European season, so very much a glory hunter, I would say. And yeah, been basically sat in the same spot in the South Stand and then into the Gerald Stand through time. So just to the left of the halfway line, a few rows back. That's me.
Oh, excellent. You're not too far from where I am. And quick fire answer to this one. Favourite all-time player?
Grant Holt.
Very quick fire. Interesting. Didn't even really need to think about that either. That's great. So yeah, the half person who I am referring to is the ever reliable Stuart Hodge. We don't know where he is. We don't know when he's turning up. We don't know if he'll turn up at all. It really is. It's edge of your seat stuff tonight. Will we see Stu? Won't we see Stu? I mean, I for one hope that we do get to hear him wax lyrical on Saturday, because I think he'll rival you for angst, Michael. But if we don't, then I've teased it, and we'll wait for him to turn up next time. Anyway, I mustn't forget to say that you can leave a comment if you're watching this live. That's after we were accused of, quote, either incompetence or a poor administration for not reading enough of them last week. So,
I mean, on reflection, both of those points do stand.
I was going to say, I was quite glad it's an either or. I thought that was quite kind, but they're only allowing us to be one of those things. But yeah, we will try and get to some of them. I've put Michael in charge. So
no
Michael
pressure.
last week, and but Michael's very much on it this week, I hope. So
I mean, I used to be able to do all this in one go on the Pinken show. I don't know. Like now, it seems like a completely forlorn hope. But I'll do my best.
I can't multitask, so I'd have absolutely no chance. Right then, we should probably talk about the football as much as we've been putting it off. Let's go back to Thursday morning when Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner were.
Can I play the sting, Steve?
Oh yes, of course. Headline act. God,
thanks.
Yes. Here's our headline act.
Sorry, I've been really looking forward to that. Sorry.
I forget
Carry on.
in this podcast now. Are you still back in Thursday morning? Great. That was when Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner were both ruled out of Saturday's game through injury. And off the back of 2 clean sheets for Norwich City, the optimistic fan might have even thought that maybe we could spring a surprise. But after 7 glorious minutes of parity came 7 inglorious Chelsea goals. Let's just quickly rattle through them. 1-0 Mount, 2-0 Hudson-Odoi, 3-0 James, half-time. 4-0 Chilwell, 5-0 Aarons, own goal. Gibson red card, 6-0 Mount penalty after Krul saved the initial effort, 7-0 Mount. Right, we've got the facts out of the way. Michael, in your piece this weekend, or this morning, you called it embarrassing and unacceptable. You've been to many Norwich City games, and you were there on Saturday. Where do you rank that one on the all-time bad performances that you've seen?
Yeah. Well, it's the heaviest defeat I've ever seen, because I wasn't at Man City for the 7-0. So then you're rivaling it with the Colchester game. And I think if you talk about humiliation, it was kind of on that level, but they're very different. Chelsea are a wonderful team. The way they moved, I mean, we spent 2 years ago talking about how Norwich weren't as physically able to compete. I tell you what, they look no more likely to physically compete with Chelsea. They were so strong, so quick. They just bounced off them half the time. But I think for just the amount that they kind of got lost and how everything was so inevitable, and off the back of a run at this level that has kind of been unacceptable, really. That's what made it work. This was almost not as bad in its own right as one game, but just such a culmination of the situation. And ultimately, I think for a lot of fans as well, it was kind of the tipping point. It's the point where they're like, oh, actually, I don't think Daniel Farke can coach at this level, because look at that. I don't know if the players are. Is this I've had this conversation with a few people. Is this squad actually better than 2 years ago? Because it's really debatable point at the moment. I tell you what they are. They're a lot more expensive. So at that point, with everything that you've put onto Norwich in this situation, to just get smashed like that on a day when Watford go and beat Everton 5-2, and Brentford are doing what they're doing, and lost 1-0 home to Chelsea the following weekend when they did have a striker on the pitch. The 12:30 kickoff, so it was basically everyone was watching it. It was just probably the most embarrassing. And I did use the word pathetic in my tweet last night, which it'd been a long weekend, but I don't take it back. And I think it was just that kind of a performance. Obviously, the Colchester one was almost laughable and just shell shocking. But that was very difficult. This one was very difficult to take for slightly different reasons. And there is a degree of mitigation in the fact that it was Chelsea. There is that, but it only lasts as long as kick off on Sunday, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't very positive, was it? But we might get there. Sorry.
I don't know if it's our job to be positive this week, and I feel like if ever we weren't going to be, I think we get a pass this time. Zoe, how embarrassed did you feel during and after Saturday's game?
During, felt pretty embarrassed, I think. Especially when that 7th one went in, it just really felt like from about 4-0, it kind of just kept. It was like, oh well, let's keep it under 6, and then let's keep it, and then when it was 6, it's like, well, we've probably done enough to see it out now. It's not going to be any more than 6, and then we get to 7, and it's like, did that one really have to go in? Like, just so frustrating that it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it just compounding the feeling of. I guess embarrassment. Afterwards, I suppose thinking about it, you start to reason with yourself a little bit. The idea in isolation of us losing 7-0 to Chelsea is not that inconceivable. The gulf between the big sides and the smaller sides in this division has been much discussed, and it's not on its own incredibly embarrassing to lose by that many to Chelsea. I'm sure there's other sides in the division that on their day might lose the same scoreline. I do think, like Michael was saying, it's the context it's in, isn't it? It's the fact that we've scored 2 goals all season. We've got 2 points. We've not won. The performances are just not there to make it okay in isolation. The performances are concerning away from the big clubs. And so we take 2 years ago, if we'd have had the September that we'd had 2 years ago, and then we went and lost 7-0 to Chelsea, I don't think anybody would have been too worried about it, because we'd had the performances, we'd had those wonderful moments already. We've had so few moments to celebrate so far this season that it just feels like we've just gone further and further down into this pit, that it's harder and harder to see the way out of it. And I think that's the worrying thing. If we are trying to think of something positive to talk about, I would say that at least it wasn't the most embarrassing performance of the weekend. And we were salvaged a little bit yesterday afternoon by Manchester United, I think, because that performance was, again, in the context of things, a lot more embarrassing than ours. But we've got a lot to worry about, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was that kind of foreboding sense that we weren't cut out for this level that, as you both alluded to, it kind of just felt like that was really cemented on Saturday. Michael, I was thinking back to when we had a chat last week in the almost like fantasy football section, and I said we'd be obdurate and hard to break down, I think, which now seems hilarious. Yeah. You referenced the 5-2 West Brom win in the same, and it was 7 goals. So, and Dan said the only thing that gave him any hope at all was that it was top v bottom and something weird might happen. But it was top v bottom and then some. And as you say, Chelsea were absolutely superb. But tactically, what was it that was so poor? I mean, and we could be all here all evening talking about this, I'm sure. But why were we quite so bad in that?
I think they, despite playing 5 at the back, they tried to push both fullbacks on quite high, which surprised me. So you still had 3 centre backs who were having to come wide when you know that Chelsea are basically going to try and play and run in behind you. I thought that the central midfielders were trying to press Chelsea central midfielders, but they kept getting caught. And a couple of times they just dribbled with the ball into the middle of the pitch and then just obviously got swallowed up by 3 players and the ball recycled. I'm afraid to say I don't see that Josh Sargent is technically able to hold the ball up. And I had a real issue with him playing, to be honest. I wouldn't have started with him because to me, there was no hope of Norwich don't have anyone up front where the ball sticks. And that is a huge issue because within probably 5 minutes, Chelsea realised, oh, well, we don't really need to worry about the back lads. Let's just push on. So at that point, there was so much space because Norwich was still trying to sort of give Chelsea something to think about, but they weren't covering any of the spaces behind them. So I would have wanted to have started with Milot, Rashica, just to give us something a bit more direct that would run the ball up. But that, I have to say, we can focus on the defending, but I just think Norwich aren't doing nearly enough in attack to give teams enough to worry about. So they are able to commit more men to trying to score. And that kind of leads to, just an issue of numbers, really. Even if we do take it back to the Brighton game, we spent, 40 minutes talking about a chance that should have been a goal. But when you think about it, that actually only arrived because the goalkeeper came out and made a complete hash of it. Mm-hmm. That was what it took. And, I don't know. I don't want to rewrite history on reflection, but I think the fact that Norwich has scored 2 goals, 1 from open play in their first 9 games, we can go into the Leeds game and try and, feel a bit more positive. But to do that, they've got to score a goal. And I'm incredibly worried about that. Chelsea are a very good side. I don't know how phenomenal they were on Saturday. I thought they did what they needed to very well. But I just think that the shape was wrong. We had Max Aarons on the left wing at times. I don't really understand how that happened. I literally went, what is he doing over there? Because I can't think of anything that would warrant Max Aarons being on the left wing as right fullback.
He must have been told that. Chelsea. He must have been told to go over there.
I don't know. I'd have to go back over it because, what was there sort of a transition where I think Pierre was trying to cover spaces and and that's probably the biggest worry, really, because whether you try and address the recruitment, whether you think that was good enough or not, whether you try and work out if this squad is better or not, the plan on the pitch is absolutely all over the place. Because at the moment, the only success has come from let's put as many men behind the ball as possible and hope we get a chance. And that is not going to cut it at this level.
Do you know what? That's weirdly just reminded me of. Do you remember Max popping up on the left wing to set up Hugill for the 7th goal, I think, against Huddersfield in the earlier this year? And that's
tactical genius.
Weird. Yeah,
glory
Did we
days.
describe it like that? We probably did. What a magic moment! Piece of tactical genius.
It's all part of Farke's grand plan, I'm sure. And also the point about it kind of us not being able to hold the ball up, and it kept coming back. I hate to keep going on about the guy, but Emi Buendia was so good at using his body to hold. And to be fair, I always thought Onel Hernandez was fantastic at that too. So that's another thing that we just lack compared to that. So,
in fairness with Onel, I used to give him stick for that because it would literally, he'd get the ball, he'd sit there, he'd sort of be a bit of a bulldog, and then he'd either go out for a throw or he'd just lay it off. But yeah, what you give for someone to do that now? Gosh, Grant Holt, I love it.
Don't get Zoe started on Grant Holt. Zoe, can you pick one moment out of all of them that was the most kind of disheartening or downbeat? Was there one moment where you had your head in your hands in particular?
It was Gibson's red card, I think, that really did it for me. I think I shouted at the TV, "You're supposed to be the smart one." And I just think, Gibson's in the side, if he's the one that's maybe keeping Omobamidele out, Gibson's in the side for his experience, for his calmness under pressure, his leadership, as much as anything else. And I just thought that tackle was so mindless and it just blew my mind, really, in terms of the moment that he chose to do it. It really, I guess, was symptomatic of everybody just having a brain freeze for 90 minutes. And, maybe the fact that he's going to miss a game and we're going to have to think about who plays in defence next time. It could be the thing that starts off a great run. But I think just during the match, at one point, I think I'd been thinking to myself, sort of in the first half, I was thinking, I wish someone would just go and kick just show a bit of something and just go and kick someone. And then I thought to myself, but no, imagine what this would be like if we only had 10 men on the pitch. And then lo and behold, it went and came true. And I just think that was the bit where I was just like, no, this isn't just being roundly beaten by a very good side who are worth millions and millions more than we are worth. It's a team that don't really seem to know what they're doing at the moment. And I think that was probably the saddest part of it for me.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we've talked about United a couple of times already, but they, and I know they're obviously a much better side than we are, but when they went down to 10 men, they had the capacity to kind of shut up shop and stop Liverpool from getting any more. We couldn't even, we're on completely different levels, but we couldn't even do that really. We probably should give mention to Tim Krul, shouldn't we, Michael? Made a fantastic save from Barkley. If we're going to take some positives out of it, then I think he deserves some credit. And I'd gone to gallows humour stage by the time he was penalised for being off his line for that penalty. I just laughed at that point, where it had to happen, didn't it?
Yeah,
but apart from Tim, nobody came out with any credit, did they really?
No, I mean, it was a wonderful save. It just felt like a bit of a waste, in truth. But I'm sure he's capable of doing it again on Sunday if needed. I mean, it was a bit unlucky with the deflected goal. So the own goal and Max's own goal. So, I mean, that was a bit like, all right, yeah, that's good. I suppose the only ones who came up with any credit are the ones who didn't play. And I did notice when, they were sort of gingerly going over to applaud the remaining Norwich City supporters, the ones who ventured closest were the ones who were nowhere near the performance, which I guess is what will happen. But this is where, and I've obviously followed Norwich all my life, this is where it always gets quite interesting, because the manager is either going to have to stick with it or change it, which means he's going to start asking things of players that he hasn't relied on in the past, and it's going to be such a huge test of his trust in them and their faith in him as his manager. So we're into a fascinating period, really.
Yeah, well, let's analyse some of the recent stats, of which I've gathered a few. So I think we know. I wish
I had some music for this, like Benny Hill music or something.
Yeah, where's this thing now, Michael? I need this thing now.
Do you want me to hum it in the background?
I feel that may distract me. I've already told you I can't multitask, so I feel like trying to listen to you do that and read at the same time is not going to end well. But I think we all know the 3 goals in 19 Premier League game stats. It's also 3 goals from open play in 23 matches. We still haven't taken any points from losing positions under Farke in the Premier League, but we also haven't led in the Premier League for 13 games. We don't lead games. We also don't come back in games. That's not ideal. It's 1 goal in the last 11 away games, and as I tweeted on Saturday, we've scored more own goals than goals at the right end in our last 13 Premier League games. So,
gosh, is that true?
Yeah.
We physically scored more goals in our own net than in the opposition net.
Literally beating ourselves.
Oh my God, that is horrendous. That is horrendous. What a stat that is.
Fairly damning.
That's like it's been a long weekend, but that is a new low. Carry on.
We're not doing great on the positive.
Tell you what, 2,000 words on The Athletic coming up on that on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be a short piece on those 2 goals for us. So, I mean, there have been a lot of questions over Daniel Farke. The old hashtag Farke out has reared its head again on social media. Zoe, I'll come to you first on this one. How close are we to what would have been unthinkable at the start of the season here, and Daniel Farke moving on?
It's really sad to talk about it, I think. So, as a manager in the last few years, he seems to have done more to sort of give us an identity, to give us something that unites us, than any manager that I can remember, really. He's really transformed Norwich under his own image, and we'll always be grateful for that. My concern is, and what's really worrying me is that identity that he's created for us seems to have vanished. And that's what I find quite scary, because we, again, to roll the clock back 2 years, obviously we were favourites to go down. It looked very likely that we might go down, throughout the season. But we were still playing our way. We were playing in our style. We had this young team who wanted to play football, who were creating things, who were all together. They didn't know that they were beaten until, right at the end. There was, even though it was a lot less likely than the previous season that we would actually turn things around eventually. There was always that feeling that they could make something happen. And, that is a wonderful thing to unite behind, that real kind of, we are trying to do this in the right way. We are fun. We are great to watch. Lots of people were praising the way that we were playing. We might not have still not been getting the points, but there was something, quite joyous about it, even though it was, we could unite in our hatred of the league rather than the way that Norwich were trying to play. And what I don't really understand is where it's gone. And yes, I know that we had a really bad end in, post-lockdown to our previous Premier League season. But we had a really good season last season. You can't just vanish that out of thin air, because you don't win the Championship at a canter unless you're playing really good football. There's too many other good sides in that league for that just to happen by accident. It wasn't an accident. We were still playing. We might have been a bit tighter at the back. We might have been a bit more, gnarly and experienced than we were 2 years ago. But, they were all playing together. They all knew what they were doing. They all knew the plan, and they were executing that plan. And my worry is now that it seems to have vanished, and I don't really know how we're going to get it back. And I don't really understand how it can have vanished that quickly. And all it makes me think about is Alex Neil and the Newcastle defeat and him getting spooked from that result, and suddenly thinking, oh my God, we need to be more defensive. But we didn't have the players to be defensive. We suddenly got lost, and he was only a very inexperienced manager, and he found it difficult to regain that kind of, how do we actually go back to that style that was giving us a lot of success. And Farke's got a bit more experience in that now, and I guess this is where he earns his money, but he needs to find that confidence again, and that real kind of like, we're going to show them, like, we're going to play our way. And yes, sometimes we're going to get turned over because that's the style of play that we've got, but occasionally something magical is going to happen and we're going to beat one of the big teams. And, quite often we'll give teams a game, even if they end up winning. And at the moment, we're just not really giving teams a game. And that's what sort of worries me, because if we can rediscover that, then the fans will get back on board, I think. But he needs to have a bit of confidence and, I guess, go out looking for that sense of fun again.
Yeah, you almost think if he's going to go down, he might as well go down fighting. And perhaps that 3-1 against Watford was his 6-2 at St James's Park moment. Who knows? Michael, we've talked about Daniel Farke being under pressure before. He was under a little bit of pressure last season. I actually think probably both the seasons when he won the league. You've written a piece about, well, we've already talked about it because I'm giving you another Timu pluggy again, as we call him. Do we think, well, it's a difficult question to answer maybe, but is he closer, do you think, than at any point in his Norwich managerial career of possibly being sacked, if we can even talk about that?
No, I do. I think that, because I think it's not really even being entertained as an idea before. And I'm not saying that I'm now having lots of conversations with people and they're entertaining the idea, but you just get a sense, I think, from things. I can't really tell you what they are, but I just get a sense from things that, these are two very big games coming up. Leeds at home, Carrow Road on telly again. Home crowd will be. It makes me think of Nigel Worthington at the moment. I have to say, there's just this situation now at Carrow Road where there's going to be so much riding on it from someone who carried so much goodwill. So that's probably one of the big associations there. And then after that, it's Brentford away. I mean, what can be said in addition to that, really? So no one will say it, but it just feels like that is a discussion point, I suppose. It feels like for the first time it is a possibility, because Daniel Farke has got a big new contract which is worth lots of money, and he's got that contract because it's time for him to deliver. And so far, he's not. To be brutally honest, he was supposed to have learned a lot from the first season in the Premier League. He was given a huge amount of leeway at the end of it, I think, like no other manager has been. The results have been worse since. promotion, as in, obviously, I am just writing off the championship at that point. At this level, the results have been worse, pretty much, certainly not any better. And it feels like it's just been overthought. I feel like they've gone so far away from what they were doing at championship level, because they're like, well, it doesn't work, so we have to do something different. So they've tried to do that. But what they've done is played Billy Gilmore as Norwich's holding midfielder in place of Ollie Skip. I could have told you that wouldn't work by watching the England-Scotland game, because I thought it was quite clear. He got loads of rave reviews from that, but watching that game, he got turned around so many times. And that's just not Billy's position, in my opinion. I might be wrong. I'm just a humble journalist, and Daniel Farke is a very qualified coach. But it just seemed like a regression to this whole, more it's like, no, we can have a nice player who can keep the ball well, and it doesn't matter because the opposition won't have the ball, so we don't have to defend that well. And it just not works like that. I think, it was an incredibly tough start, but equally I think playing Ozanka back against Watford, I just don't think he was ready. And I think that it was a disastrous decision in such a big game, because everything really comes back to the Watford game in terms of an opportunity for Norwich to get a first point, be obdurate, do something that sort of gave them a foothold. And the way it unraveled in that second half was, to be honest, unforgivable. And I'm still a bit angry about it, because at that point they had to prove something beyond everything they did in the championship. Because, to be honest, Daniel Farke took a few weeks. He got Emi Buendia and Todd Cantwell through the transfer window, so they knew they were staying. He got them drilled into what he knows works in the championship, and then he didn't really have to change it. They just went and go. They were good players. They didn't have the pressure of a crowd, and they could just go and play to the heart's content. And you could just see the freedom. The football was wonderful. They were just in their element, because it was like a control situation where they could just go and do whatever, take it off the training ground, and away you go. They were that much better than most of the teams. I can't remember a single game where a tactical change really made a difference in the game. I might be doing him a huge disservice there, but doesn't strike me that Daniel has affected many games with changes. Maybe I'm just forgetting. I might be, but it certainly hasn't happened very often. But what I do know is the Premier League, the tactics are different come most kickoffs. Teams change during most games, and you have to be fluid, reactive, and you have to get it right. And I just haven't seen that from Daniel Farke at this level at all, if I'm brutally honest. And that is why I look at it and think I'm now at the point where I just don't think he's currently ready to coach at this level, and it feels like his head's all a bit muddled. And it'll be fascinating what I know we'll come to it in a bit, but Leeds, what's he going to pick? Is he going to suddenly go, all right then boys, let's go 4-2-3-1 and see how we get on? Because that would be a huge acknowledgement of what the first 9 games have been, really.
Well, just to pick up on a couple of things that you said there, I love the Worthington comparison. That actually feels really similar to me. And I just had a look. He was the Burnley game was the 10th game of that season, and obviously Leeds would be the 10th game of this season. I just wanted to a quick answer to this one. Do you think, because you said the next two games will be massive, do you think that means whatever happens after Leeds, he will still be here, or do you think that they will give him a little bit more time?
I would be lying if I said I knew. I don't know. There's a degree of hunch work. But the one thing you do have, whatever Daniel's future is, you've got to work out who comes in instead of him. And what I don't want is him to go and then spend 2 or 3 weeks trying to figure out who will come in, because you will very quickly end up in a situation where people look at it and go, nah, I ain't doing that job. And, so that's, I think I would like to think Stuart Webber and people at the club are already working out what is the plan if Daniel is no longer in charge, because they need to be thinking about that now. Because even if we're at this point and they win against Leeds, it's only going to take 3 or 4 more defeats and we're back to the same situation again. So we are at that point now, really. There's no avoiding it. Or the alternative is they go, hey, we ain't changing it, and maybe they make that public. But I just don't get the impression that that's where we are this time.
Well, let's hope that they do have a long-term plan. We don't know what's going to come up. We don't even know what's coming in the next 10-15 minutes regards Stuart Hodge, so we certainly can't look any further ahead than next Saturday. Okay, I feel like we've got some stuff off our chests there, although not everything, I hope, because we still have a little bit more moaning to do. Moaning? I don't know, ranting.
Discussion.
Discussion. I'm leading up to the sting for Pick That One Out, Michael.
Love it.
We don't get along with that one to kind of catch your breath, do you?
No.
So yes, I'm hoping, Michael and Zoe, that you still have another 30 seconds of bile to unleash. Do you unleash bile? I don't know. That feels like a mix of metaphors there. Because it's picked that one out, aka the ranting section. So I can't work out, is it worse to be under the 30 seconds or over the 30 seconds? I don't know which is more of a cardinal sin, but if you can hit the 30 seconds, then you leave with ultimate respect. Who would like to? Michael, shall I come to you first?
Yeah.
Or have you
Do I
talked?
buzz myself? I can't remember what we did last time.
I'll buzz you. I'll buzz you verbally because I can't get the klaxon thing.
You buzz me verbally, Steve.
Thank you very much. Right, are you ready?
Yeah, why not?
Your 30 seconds starts now.
I mean, I didn't want to talk about Billy Gilmore again, but I feel like I have to because it seems like this whole situation with Billy Gilmore playing has become a thing. And I don't know why it's become a thing. I don't know why everything seems to have revolved around whether Billy Gilmore is playing for Norwich City or not. He's on loan. He's played, half of the games, maybe slightly under. He got some minutes, which is more than he would have got at Chelsea. I can see a bright young player, but I think it's difficult for him to come in now. I thought Daniel Farke. Wow, that wasn't very long.
No, it's not. I tell you what, when you're in the hot seat, it's the pressure's on.
I'm not going to extend the point this time because even I can be bothered with that.
You've made your Billy Gilmore point tonight. Yeah. Right then, Zoe. Well, you've seen how the master does it. So, Michael, are you going to be ready with your klaxon, or would you like me to?
No, you go. You do it.
I'm going again. Okay.
That was good. Yeah.
Great. Okay, I've gone and lost it now. Here it is. Zoe, are you ready?
I am.
Your time starts now.
Okay, this is only loosely linked to the Norwich result on Saturday, but my real thing to rant about is Liverpool not scoring more than 5 goals yesterday, because what we really could have done with it was it being at least 7, and it could have been at least 7. They took their foot off the gas. They were pinging it around the defence after Pogba got sent off. It was infuriating. They could have really helped us yesterday, and they just stopped bothering, and it really riled me up. So that is my problem. And I don't know how close I am to 30 seconds.
You're that close. Buzz. Yes.
There we go.
I kind of feel like I saw that 5th goal go and I thought, wow, yeah, they're going to do worse than us.
Well, they should have done. It had definite vibes of Brazil, Germany in the World Cup when apparently Löw told them to ease off at half time, which always really infuriates me as well. I don't think there's any honour in this. We try to win by as many goals as you can possibly score, and I no holding back. If we were in that position, I would want us to keep going. And that's
be a while
the end
before we
are.
Steve, can I have Stu's go?
You're going to have 2?
Yeah.
Goodness me. Well, all right. As you asked so nicely, it's you can't have another 30 seconds of Billy Gilmore, though. That's not allowed.
No. Although, before we start, can I just say there was a tweet that went out from Football for All saying that Billy Gilmore was seen celebrating with the Chelsea fans, and they quoted The Athletic. And people have seen it and gone, oh, have you know? The reason that they put The Athletic is because we're really great and really trusted. And they lied because it was a fake tweet from a fake account that didn't exist. So I can tell you, I saw Billy Gilmore come out of the tunnel, I think with Mason Mount in his civvies, just like acting like a normal human being because he's a Chelsea player on loan at Norwich. That was it. That was what I saw. So whatever that tweet was, it A, wasn't the proper account, and B, was absolute lies. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
I nearly asked you about that, but I thought you don't like to deal with tabloid rumours on. You don't lower yourself to the podcast.
I do like to deal with lies if they claim that we as The Athletic and therefore me by association are saying them. So yeah, just to clarify that. Can I do?
Well said. Yeah, I don't think nobody else can ask to do 2. I don't think. No. I think as it's your.
Because Hodge hasn't turned up.
Well, we'd rather hear a second one of you than one of Hodgie, right? So over to you. Your 30 seconds start now.
I mean, I feel like I put the pressure on now, and people are going to think it's a good one. It's not really, but it was just from what Zoe was saying. Josh King. Norwich wanted to sign Josh King. Josh King wanted to come to Norwich at the start of the conversations. It was something that was on the table, and it didn't happen. And I think I don't know, maybe just Norwich didn't feel it was going to work or be the right move. But then he goes and looks so hungry against Everton, and Everton capitulate. And that is just another example of how Norwich are all at sea. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we need to move on. I feel like I'm
good. I have to say, Josh King was one of those during the summer that I thought, when we were linked to them, thought it'd be a terrible signing. And then as soon as he signed for Watford, I was like, well, that's a good signing for them. Something about fit with them. I don't know what that was.
He could have held the ball up.
Yeah, let's not even go there again. This is the point, Michael, where I'm going to ask, put you on the spot slightly and see if we've got any comments or whether we've
got loads.
Administratively incompetent again. And I don't know if you can pull that out of the bag for us this time.
We have got loads. I haven't read any of them. Oh, there you go. Mark Hilton. Gilmore sent an Insta of him having a haircut on King's Road after the match.
Well,
we know he was there. Why was he getting his haircut? That's the question.
Send him back. It should not be getting a haircut.
John W. We have 0 players with experience of the EPL. Before a ball was kicked, that was worrying. Even fewer goals, I would add. Very few goals.
Fewer than 0. Wow.
Amanda T. She agrees with you, Zoe. That annoyed me too. Wanted Liverpool to score 8. I mean, to be fair,
Minimum.
They did create a good distraction still, haven't they? So they've done quite well. Here's one from Stephen Stibbons. We buy players from teams getting relegated from leagues not as good as the Championship.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean I think that's probably not entirely true.
Oh, sorry, not as good as the Championship.
But I do agree with the mentality of Josh and Milot. They've lost a lot of games with Werder Bremen. And having spoken about 2 years ago, Norwich not having a fear factor with their players, kind of gone to the absolute extra extreme of people only really having experienced that.
I would also argue that no league is as good as the Championship. So, what are you supposed to do?
Is the Championship as good when you're 13th, though? That's the question, Zoe.
Well, we might find out next season.
St. John Cooper, who I think I saw at the Brighton game because he came and said hello to me. So hello, St. John. How Wilder and Lampard?
How Wilder? Is that a question? How wild is Lampard? I do not know.
Any more? David Berman says Gilmore might be better in an Emmy type role. Norwich don't play with that anymore.
I'm willing to try anything at this point.
Yeah, probably what Daniel will say in his press conference on Friday. That'd be funny. But that's probably enough, isn't it? I reckon.
I think that'll keep the critics at bay for another week. Well done, Michael. That's an excellent job there.
Excellent admin.
Do you know what? You're wasted in this host role. You're fantastic at the admin part. You're good at both, to be fair. Right. Can I tee you up for a bit of John Motson?
Oh yes.
This is almost fantasy football.
This is almost fantasy football. That sounds more and more ironic with every passing week, doesn't it? It's Leeds. It's big. It's Leeds. It feels right, doesn't it? It should be Leeds. Something about that feels right. Sunday, 2 p.m, live on Sky. I mean, and the Burnley game was on Sky at 2 p.m. Well, not on a Sunday, wasn't it? So, wow, all the comparisons are coming back. Rafinha went off injured at the weekend. Bamford didn't play. I don't think, did Phillips not play either? No. So I almost feel like it's pointless listing these because we've literally just conceded 7 against a team who didn't have their 2 best strikers. Zoe, I'll come to you first. How do you see this one going? Is there any hope of a win here for us?
There's always hope for a win. I for one, I'm already absolutely convinced we're going to win. I don't think I did immediately after Saturday's game, but I've got myself, a couple of days have passed. I've got myself into regulation positivity. And I think the reason I'm reasonably hopeful, you said it yourself, Leeds feels like an interesting one. I think we had some of our best learning 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was when we won the Championship, was done against Leeds, both through a less than good performance and one of the best performances the Championship's ever seen, probably. And I think nothing could better remind Farke about glory days past and glory performances past than a game against Leeds, who sort of came with us on that ride a little bit. I think Bielsa's style and an unflinching kind of commitment to his style of football and absolute no nonsense in terms of like, we are going to play like this and sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't. That's what Farke needs to be embodying from now on. And perhaps it's just going to jog some really nice memories for him of nice moments. There's not many teams in the Premier League probably that we've got some really nice memories of playing in recent seasons. And I think, Watford's definitely not one of them. He couldn't do that recall a few games ago. But Leeds, I really feel like if he's going to rediscover that sort of magic, total football, Farke ball, whatever you want to call it, I think Leeds could be the game. It kind of needs to be the game, right? Like, we are rock bottom, but we're not, cut adrift at this stage. If we win one, if we win two in the next few games, things start to look a little bit perkier, not quite so desperate. So, I'm really hopeful that perhaps we've hit kind of that real kind of awful feeling, and perhaps throwing some of the shackles off and just saying, let's just play and let's go out there and play. Perhaps this is when we can do it. And yeah, why not? Why shouldn't we win?
Yeah, I like that. And the mad thing for me is you referred to it. We could be 18th by the end of next weekend. We actually could still be 18th, which is just insane. Michael, I'm going to throw this impossible question at you. What system are we going to play? Who's in? Who's out? I want. Can you? I don't know. Just tell us one or two things that you think will happen, even if you can't predict the 11 and the formation.
It does always amuse me when the team comes out, because there's always a reaction to it. People will be like, "Oh, it's a great team," and then it might still lose. Yeah. I mean, like this season, will be, "Oh, that's a great team," and then it's lost, and "Oh, I hate that team," and then
usually the better the team looks on paper for these kind of games, the worse we end up playing.
And conversely, people will go, "Oh, I'm not sure about that." Oh, it's worked, and so it does. You're never quite sure at that point. I think. Well, I don't know the answer, obviously. I would be amazed if it was unchanged. I would be amazed if it was the same, if it was 3-5-2.
Well, Gibson suspended, obviously, so there will have to be at least one change.
Fair point. Okay, so if there was only one, but let me rephrase. If it was only one change, which was on Bamadelli for Gibson, and if it was still 3-5-2, I would be amazed. I do not think we're in the territory where you're like, oh, well, we'll give the guys another go. We are not there.
So back four?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, because do I second guess Daniel Farke, or do I say what I would do? I mean, I think, as I said, he might look at it and go, you know what, screw it. Let's go back to what I know. I'm going to show you how to do it. We've got all these players who can play in the three positions behind Pukki. Maybe I should actually put positions in the team that they can play in. I'm amazed we haven't seen more of Christoph Schollis, I must admit, and I find that a real shame. So I think that there's that option of a 4-2-3-1. I think probably more likely is that he does still stick with three at the back, but does something more of either the 3-4-1-2 that Scotland play, which has Gilmore in it, which I actually quite like, or a sort of more 3-4-2-1. So you've got Pukki and then say Josh Sargent, or not who I would play, or Rashica behind Pukki. So you at least got a three, which I think I said on the Spaces with Hodgie last week. He's still not here, by the way. That was what I would have done at Chelsea potentially, because you could afford to have 7 really grounded defensive players if you just had 3 that were actually there as an attacking force, rather than just sort of 2 isolated. So that's probably what I would do. I think it needs more attacking players on the pitch. That's why I just don't think you can name a 3-5-2 essentially as well, because just the environment that everyone's going into on Saturday, it's got to have a pick me up when everyone arrives. And the supporters were really good in the second half against Brighton. Obviously, a big 90 minutes has happened since then, but I hope it's like that from the off against Leeds. I mean, it is Leeds. That does seem to fire Norwich fans up generally as well. And I haven't shaken the part of my brain that for 3 or 4 weeks has just thought what a monumental achievement it would be to prove everyone wrong. It's everyone is just, it's not even whether Norwich get relegated, it's how many points they're going to get this year. My editors said must be worried about the Derby record now. By the way, Derby actually had more points after 9 games when they finished with 11 points. So that's where we are. And there's that bit where you're like, oh, just show it, just show them. But that is only a small part of my brain thinking that, or maybe it's a small part of my heart. But I mean, ultimately, they all need a rocket up their ass because, and apologies for swearing, but there was so much jogging at Stamford Bridge, and there was jogging against Watford, and there was jogging against Liverpool in the Cup. Too much jogging. This is supposed to be a really fit, high energy team. They need to show it. And when we talk about Leeds and Bielsa, they've shown that constantly. They outworked teams by miles last year. They may not be the same team this year. Maybe it's a difficult second season for them. But if Norwich don't get anywhere near their energy levels, then they are screwed. So that's the only option really for Saturday. It's probably more important than what shape they play in.
Yeah, and it feels like a fast start is going to be really important on Sunday as well. Well, if I've learned nothing else tonight, I've learned that we're allowed to say arse on this podcast. So
no, we're not.
Okay,
we're not. Sorry.
Okay, do as I say, not as I do.
yeah, we know that's the rules, don't we? We know that.
Okay, so one word answer then. Are we gonna win on Sunday, Michael?
Surely.
Okay. Incredibly non-committal. Zoe, what do you think?
Is 5-0 one word?
2-2 though.
Us. We're going to win.
5-0. Yes.
5-0. Okay.
It'll be fine, guys. It's all going to be fine. Absolutely fine.
Well, that seems like a good way to go out. So I'll say that'll do for today's On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that covers the bottom of the league, but is top of the league for admin. So make sure you subscribe to On the Ball via your podcast player of choice. It's available free for everyone on your usual player. And we are now streaming the recording of the podcast live, as you can see if you're watching right now in video form on Michael's social media channels, which he's kindly let me sort of borrow for the evening. Just search Michael Bailey, The Athletic Norwich City. Is that right? That's a lot of words on your...
If you get anything wrong from that, then something to do with me.
On your preferred social platform, hopefully it'll show up. Ratings and reviews wherever prompted, always hugely appreciated by me and by Michael. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, then give Michael a direct message on Twitter at Michael J. Bailey. So a big thank you to our guest tonight, Michael.
You're very welcome, Steve. Well done.
Thank you. Zoe.
Lovely to be here, NCFC numbers.
Thank you. Stuart. Oh no, he's not turned up.
he's done a Norwich. He's not turned up. Sorry, I've been wanting to get that in all night. He did send me a message saying he wasn't going to make it. So I just hope his trip was safe and secure.
Well, what a fitting tribute that was from him to our performance on Saturday. We'll be back next week. Michael will be back in the hot seat next week, and we look forward to dissecting that Leeds performance. Can I say it? Until then, never mind the danger. Hello, and we're clear.
Yay! Well done, Steve.
I feel like I'm stealing your catchphrases. It's not a good look.
It's such a catchphrase, though. It's such a good catchphrase.
It's the host's catchphrase, Steve, and you are the host.
Okay, I feel it's like if Bruce Forsyth just sort of let someone else do the whole nice to see you. It just doesn't feel right somehow. But hey, if you're happy, then I'm happy.
Always happy, me.
Great. Zoe, are you also happy to be here at what is quite obviously Whit's End at this point?
Absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled to be here.
It's just when it really starts. If you're still listening, then that's good, because that means that you're still here as well, and you're now part of the tangential 10 minutes, which might be more than that, of tittle tattle that is Whit's End, named after a man that, looking back now, may have been quite an underrated Premier League player. I think.
Well, you'd stuck him in central midfield on Saturday, wouldn't you? I'd have seen that.
Clayton down. We are, of course, referring to Stephen Whittaker, and pretty well anything goes here within reason. Don't know what words you are and aren't allowed to use now. Michael just makes it as he goes along.
No, it was all about impact. That's why I used it. It was an impact. I hope they were listening.
I still remember it. And if you're here, then that makes you one of our Twitterkers, i.e. an honorary member of Whit's End. This is the part of the show where we go off the beaten track and take on any and every topic to do with Norwich City, which includes your suggestions too. And you can give them to us via email at twitterkers, TWITTERKERS @icloud.com, or you can use the hashtag Twitterkers, same spelling, on Twitter. Just don't explain what it refers to. That's the one rule. And who's been using the hashtag Twitterkers on Twitter? It's what they're all talking about. And when I say all, I mean a small percentage of the Norwich City community on Twitter.
Hey, it's an important percentage.
A growing percentage. It's the star sign puns. Is that what we're calling this now? I'm going to pass this over to you, Michael, because you're the expert on.
Well, the amazing thing about this is we got a suggestion for the name of it. Matt Ware. No, it wasn't Matt Ware. Sorry, Alex Ware. I get my wares on Twitter muddled up. Alex Ware. Hello, Alex, and hello, Matt. Got in touch and said, surely this whole thing should be called Zodiac Whitbread, which is amazing.
Probably the best one that we've had so far, in all honesty. I take my hat off to Alex. Great work.
So from now on, it is called Zodiac Whitbread.
Zodiac Whitbread.
Which was, of course, kicked off by Mark Libra and my piece on his 19-second goal, whatever it was, which is still one of my favourite ever Norwich City goals. I love that moment. And yeah, we've got a list. Now, I've got to be honest, I quite like the idea of reading this list out every week because I love it. Because it's got Wes Leo Houlihan, Leon Mackenzie, Gemini Goss, Max Aries, Terry's Alcock, Tor Russell Martin, Virgo and Moirich, or Leroy Virgo, Josh Sargentarius, or Sagittaire Ryan Bennett, or Sagittarian Culverhouse, which I really like. And we also had Ozan Cabaquarius.
Oh, I like that one.
What a list. What a list that is. And that's what we tell you what, we had that last week. That list was last week's list. Twitter lit up with so many, well, it's a good number of, I've gone Alan Partridge, a good number of follow-ups. So shall I just read out the ones I did? This just saves on my admin. Talking about admin, it saves on my admin for next week, so I've got these all in one place. We only had a couple of suggestions, but we had, I say that, Callum off of Twitterkers, friend of the show, they were so bad. He suggested about 3 or 4, but they were so bad. Even I'm not going to read them out.
Really?
Apart from, really. Apart from one, thank you, Callum, I should say. Thank you, Callum. But the one I will read out, which was by some distance the best, was Billy O. Gilmore. So there we are. Billy O.
Gilmore.
That was the best. That was the best one.
Is that an Irish player? Billy O. Gilmore.
I almost did an accent. I'm glad I didn't. We also had one from Canaries Down Under, which I guess is Lee, who I've met. I'm assuming it's you, Lee. Apologies if not. Correct me. Please tell me who it's. I like using people's names. But Canaries Down Under came forward with Delio Smith. So that's very good. And also Leo probably leading the suggestions now on 4. And then I don't even know which ones we haven't got any for yet. There must be some.
Well, am I right in thinking that Zoe have you come prepared, Zoe?
Well, I came a little bit prepared. And it's basically 4 suggestions, but they're all on a theme. You might see what that theme is as I go through. So Scorpion El Hernandez.
Oh, lovely.
Virgon El Hernandez. Leon El Hernandez. And
He sounds like a good player.
Capricornel Hernandez.
Oh my goodness.
Capricorn, I think you rescued it at the end there with Capricornel Hernandez.
Capricornel Hernandez. That was the first one actually that I thought of. So I should have stopped there.
I mean, I want to sign Lionel Hernandez. I reckon he's going to be a
He
great
does
player.
sound good.
He does sound good, doesn't he? I wonder if there is a Lionel Hernandez.
Lionel
Oh,
Hernandez.
maybe I'll have a look.
Lionel's got to be a popular
Good
name,
work,
yeah.
Zoe.
That's great.
Thank you.
Hall
all
of
those
Famer.
Are they all making it on your list?
Oh yeah. Well, they've been read out now, so that, I mean, it's a low bar. But I was going to say that probably puts Zoe in our Zodiac Whitbread Hall of Fame already.
I did also have Alan Vergao, if that counts. But that brought back too many bad memories, so I stopped there.
You've read it out, so it now counts.
Can I just throw one more into the mix, just because I've just thought of it? It's a very obscure player, and it doesn't really work. But Lee Brownby. Do you remember Lee Bromby? Lee Brownby. And see, it incorporates both names. So,
for someone,
extra points.
I mean, for someone who has complained about the quality of the puns being read out, that was that was like you were trying to prove a point. I've got to be honest.
Okay. I will take that on the chin. And you know what I'm going to say next, Michael, because we discussed this beforehand. Am I allowed to bring this up?
No, go bring it up.
Hey, I'm in charge. I can do what I want.
Yeah, go on.
I think that we should, and Zodiac Whitbread, great, but we can keep the name.
It is great. You're right.
We can keep the name. I think we should expand to anything to do with space, because I feel like when Lee Brownby is being brought up, that's the scraping the barrel.
You did do it deliberately. I knew it. I knew that was too bad. You're so good at puns, and I thought that is not a Steve Sanders pun.
No, I'm just styling out. I really did mean it to be a good one. So I'm thinking, par example, Josh Stargent. Josh Stargent.
Oh, I fully
That's my
appreciate the
example.
explanation.
That's my example. If I say it enough times, it might work. So, and think of the opportunities there. I feel like we've, awoken a whole world of puns, Michael, and I know you love puns.
I can tell by Zoe's face that she's got one and is desperate to read it out.
Solar Sisti Mupuki. Just came to me.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness.
No way.
This has got an eyebrow.
Yeah. Michael Saturna as well. That came to me before.
Okay.
Oh, Michael Saturna.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are we on a delay? This is great. And whilst I'm going to voice my concerns that this is going to distract from the key task at hand, which is the Zodiac Whitbread, I appreciate the idea of opening it up to a second list or expanding the topic to space. I have taken on board your suggestions and submissions as well, and they will duly be added to the space pun list. But for now, we will not read any more of these out on any week until Norwich City win a Premier League game. Then it is open. That will be the most significant part of Norwich winning a Premier League game. Will be the kicking off of our space puns.
Because that will have some kind of galactic significance if we actually win a match. Okay, well, stay tuned for whenever that is, whatever year, season,
oh my
that
God.
happens.
Draws don't count, just so we're being clear.
Okay, and it's star sign puns until then, folks. So get your thinking caps on. Are there any left? But I think people can send in their space puns, right? They just may not be read out.
No, 100%. I would say that 100%. 100%. Get them in. Usual manners. Yeah, get them in. We'll collate them, and then we can drip feed them out after Norwich have won in the Premier League.
So 100% send them in. 100% they won't be read out until Norwich win. So let's hope that happens next week.
hang on. Haven't we all said Norwich will win on Saturday, and then it'll just be as normal next week?
Okay.
This isn't an incentive for the Norwich players to, deliver. I don't really know
they're
what
listening.
I just assume they are. Yeah, definitely.
I hope.
Ignore all the other noise.
Is it the punishment for losing 7-0? They all have to listen to
Yeah. In the dressing room.
Solasys team and Stargent will be banging them in if they are listening, that's for sure. Just another quick one that we had on Twitter, Michael. You mentioned that you missed the what I'm going to call the Simeon Jackson Derby game, and Alex Ware again said he also missed the winner, having left on 85 minutes. He was playing a gig in Cambridge and his bandmate wanted to not get stuck in traffic. They were an hour early. Whew,
I mean, that's probably worse because Alex was actually at the game.
Yeah. And it was a crucial game as well. Oh,
yeah. I was literally sent somewhere else by work, so I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go. No thanks.
Yeah. And they had a habit that year of late winners, didn't they? So even worse. Zoe, any Norwich goals that you missed, games that you missed that still sting?
Well, I'm not sure it stings because it didn't really end well. But one game I did miss that I had every intention of being at was we played Stoke in Stoke, I think in around 2005. And my dad and I drove from Yorkshire, where we're based, down to Stoke. It was an evening game, I think. Got all the way there, parked up outside the ground, and it was back in the day where you just paid on the gate, didn't have a ticket. We both realised that neither of us had brought any money. We'd been on holiday like previously, not far before then, so it was. I think I'm blaming the jet lag or something. But we both had a complete mind freeze, had not brought any money with us. Didn't know anybody else that was going, so couldn't get in touch with them. So we parked up in Stoke, realised we had no money, and then drove home to Yorkshire again. And in about the first 10 minutes, I think Darren Huckabee was sent off. We got absolutely battered, I think. So it's maybe a good job that we didn't end up going, but I think it was a bad night all round, really.
And to be honest, you don't need that much money to get by in Stoke either. As someone that lived there, it's if you're going to not have much money anywhere, then Stoke is the place. But even in Stoke, you need some cash. Lucky you didn't run out of petrol on the way home, right? That would have been really disastrous. Well, that's an excellent one then. I think we should put that one out there as well. Anyone who's missed any Norwich City games or any goals for any reason, leaving early or going to the toilet, whatever it is, there must be some good stuff out there.
Yeah.
We've all got those stories. So I will ask at this point, any other business, Michael, Zoe?
No, I did get a nice DM from Nick Dye, but I'm going to save it for next week because we're probably time.
Yeah, did it in around all those space puns, I think.
Yeah, yes, after our victory.
Joyous. Right, well, thank you both very much, Michael, Zoe. Hodgie, we love you. Sorry you couldn't be here. Till next time. I think the way we finish now is for you to both say bye at the same time. So I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cut. We'll end the podcast there.
Beautiful.
We're done.
Beautiful.
I'm
just gonna hand over the reins. I can't do this way. No. There we go.
Hand over the reins.
I'm just handing it over like that. There you go.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome. Seamless.
Thanks, Zoe. Does that work? Thanks. Am I looking?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, it's like blankety blank. They were all in a line, weren't they, when they filmed that? Anyway, I feel like we've gone on long enough. That was good fun. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoyed that.
Zoe, I will let you go. So we are still live. So thanks for your debut. Will you do it again? Come on again?
Oh, absolutely. If you'll invite me, hopefully after a win next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I will endeavour for that to be the case. Hopefully there'll be lots of wins, which would be helpful. Bye, Zoe. Bye. There's Zoe. Steve, well done.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy it.
Oh yeah, it was great. And small but perfectly formed team. Right? That was
perfectly formed. Just like Billy Gilmore, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've got some making up to do with him, I think.
I know. I felt I was a bit harsh, but there we go. Right, but we are still live, so there we go. Just reminding myself of that. Cool. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. We got through some of your comments, not shed loads, but thank you for so many because we did have lots. And I probably need to do a live Q&A so that I can actually address some of them properly. So I should probably sort that out at some point. Leave that with me. But yeah, Steve, I'll let you get on with the rest of your evening. Thank you so much. Thank
you, Michael. Enjoyed it.
And
cheers.
I'll say goodbye to everyone as well. Have a lovely week. Have a brilliant week. Nothing else could possibly go wrong between now and Sunday. Have a great week. I'll see you at Carrot Road on Sunday. Bye.